Special occasion speech. On one winter day, my dad had to change a brake line on our old station wagon. You know, the ones with the paneling attached to the side of the car? We had a large family because my parents took in foster children, and we needed a big car because we as a family went everywhere together and did everything together, except when it came time to fix the car. I was always the chosen one. I had three other brothers living at home, but two were too young, and the oldest, my biological brother, well, he was all about his girlfriend in another town, so he was always off with her. My biological sister was already married and not living at home, and the two other foster sisters, well, they had no interest in working on cars. So, like I mentioned, it was winter, and my dad was fixing the car. I mean, it was dead of winter with 3 to 4 feet of snow that had just fallen a few days prior, and it was cold. It seemed like to me that every time the car needed to be fixed, it was during the winter. Guess who was asked to come out into the cold to help? Yes, me. Because I was eager to do what I needed to do to get out of doing housework or schoolwork, I dressed up warmly and went out and helped. I went outside where my dad was standing in front of the car where the hood was up, and I looked inside and saw that he had taken off fan belts and had removed some other stuff. I asked my dad, "What do you need me to do?" He said, "I cannot get the bolt off because it's in a tight place, and I need your help because your hands are smaller." "Okay," I said, and then asked, "What are we fixing?" He said, "The water pump." I paused and said, "You mean all this stuff needs to be put back on before using the car again?" He said, "Yep. Now stick your hand down in that small area with this wrench and take off the bolt." It was a success, and I was proud I was able to help with this task. But we were not done. The car had to be put back together. We worked for hours trying to put everything back, but this one fan belt would not stretch enough to go around the fan pulley. I was cold and hungry, and he was frustrated but would not give up. When Dad got upset, I never could tell it because he never showed that he was. I remember that he never said a bad word either, even when nothing went the way it should have. All I ever heard him say was a prayer like this: "Please, God, help." And he said it seriously, and most of the time, these little prayers did work. But that evening, it was not happening that way. Well, that is because I was praying the opposite. You see, the next day I had school, and I did not want to go. I did not like school, so any chance I could get from going, I would do it. Thank God for moms. Finally, Mom peeks her head out from the front door of the house and yells, "Honey, let Joanne come inside. It's late and it's too cold for her." What was my dad supposed to do? He told me to go inside, but I took this opportunity to make it a no school day for me. I said, "Dad, if you let me stay home tomorrow from school, I will finish putting the car back together, and by the time you get home, it will be all done." He thought about it and said, "No, you better go to school." I begged and I pleaded with him, telling him, "Please let me do this. Then Mom will not be without a car, and you will not have to worry about it when you get home. Nothing is going on at school. so I'll not miss much. I promise I will get this done. Believe it or not, he caved and said, "Yes, but it better be done," he said. The next morning, I woke up, put all my winter clothes on, and started working on the car, putting it all back together. It did not take me long to get the fan belt back on to the pulley, and I do not remember how it all came together, but it did. I was so excited that I ran inside the house yelling, "Mom, Mom, I got it. It is all ready for you to take out." This was my mother's response. "Joanne, I'm glad that you accomplished this, but if you do not mind, I would rather wait until your dad gets home before I drive the car. Let him look at it first." I was crushed, to say the least. But I was still holding on to the fact that my dad would be proud that I managed to put the car back together because I never done anything like this before. My dad comes home and sits down and begins eating dinner. It seemed like he ate for hours. I'm like thinking to myself, hurry up, go check the car. Finally, my dad finishes dinner, gets up and puts on his boots and coat and walks with me to the car. I open the hood and say, "See, it's all back together." He said, "Did you start it?" I said, "No. Mom would not let me until you got home." He says, "Well, start it up." I hurried to the driver's seat and put the key in the ignition and started the car. Without a hitch, the car turned over and started up and ran perfectly. I got out of the car to look at my dad's expression, and he had this small grin on his face. I understood that grin to mean that he was very proud of me, but I found out later that that grin meant that he would have me working on family vehicles more often. I told this story about spending a special moment with my dad because this is a starting point of a person I would become in my later years. I was only 14 when I fixed my first car, and this gave me the boldest in my life to take challenges that no one would ever believe I could accomplish. It gave me the confidence to try anything that seemed too hard. When I looked back, I could say, yes, I did that. I grew up knowing that even though sometimes some things looked challenging, it did not mean that it was impossible. I just needed to approach it in a different angle and not give up.